Okay then, welcome everybody. Yes, sound effects, sound effects. We are in. Welcome to the great transition, everybody. So great to see familiar faces here. Faces, chat names, what does it matter? As long as we share a similar desire. And that's what I think we share here, right, Seth? What would you say? A shared desire? A similar desire? People who are here?
Uh,
How would you define
I,
that
I
desire?
would say,
No, don't go too Kabbalistic on me
I
now.
was just gonna say
Just
it's like we all like a sports team. You know, it could be a vegetarian likes a sports team, a meat eater like a sports team. We all have something that we all share in common. What is that thing that we share in common? We're looking for answers for what's going on in life, beyond just the right or the left, beyond just some media narrative, and beyond also uh, philosophy or theory or some, because there's lots of
okay. Now
you know
just say welcome
I
to the
can't, you're better at that.
great
Can you just
transition.
can
No,
can
you
you do
see,
that?
guys.
That's
You
you're
see,
so
I
much better.
almost got Seth to do the intro. Wasn't this a clever maneuver, though? See, you basically did it. You basically did
I have
it.
a I have a certain skill set, and
All right, all right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the great transition. Should I still turn my gain down? Oh my God! Wait a second. I think
what's happening? I don't have the chat open.
I took it down. I think it's guys. Tell me if you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's fixed. Timothy
Oh,
says
can't
it
hear
is
Seth well, I
fixed.
hear. I
No,
see
I
Drew
think I
Drew.
was just way too loud, and they had to take it down. And I think now we're kind of balanced. All right.
Okay,
Yes.
Mechanical
Yes.
Elves says Seth's mic is really low. Is it? How about now, Mr. Elf?
Yeah.
Mr. Elves? Is it
Oh
better?
God, gosh, I made some friends here deaf. I'm really sorry, you guys. I have a checklist of a couple things that I need to do, and sometimes I miss the volume. So thank you for letting me know. And yeah, I think everything's good now. Yeah, sound is good now. The
Okay.
Mancini, we got the Mancini approval. We have the Mancini approval.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Yes, tell us where you're watching from if you're just joining. If you are if you are joining here for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, welcome to the Great Transition. In here, we are going above our differences of politics, religion, culture. We're trying to focus on a desire that we believe if you're a human being, you have that kind of desire, which is to understand what the hell's going on in the world? Where are we going as a society? Where are we going as individuals? Is there a bigger kind of grand plan of things that has to do with who we are and what we think and what we want in life, as well as where we're going as a society? And can we sort of contextualize everything that's happening in the world today, in current affairs, in every aspect of human life? Can we sort of see how that falls into a certain kind of direction that we're all going towards, being bounded by laws of nature and where it's taking us as human
The answer is
beings?
yes. Thank you, everybody. Great show. We'll see you on Thursday.
Well,
The answer is yes, we
you're
can.
gonna have to do the intro at some point. Um, all right.
You're better at the
What's
business. I'm better at the.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that. What's on our plate today, man?
Hold on.
What's going
Before
on
we
in the
open up,
world?
what's it was
Okay.
another. By the way, it was a very exciting week in the on Earth again. It was another
Okay.
lot of action on Earth this week.
Exciting is
But before
good
we
or
get,
bad?
well, we're going to explain why all of these changes are actually for the good.
Ah, okay. That's our challenge. All right.
Yeah, that's
All
our
right.
challenge. But something you said, we every human has this desire inside of them
Mm-hmm.
to understand what's going on,
Yeah.
but many, you could even say billions, are looking for food, or hundreds of millions are looking for food, so they don't have the luxury
Mm,
to engage so much if they're just trying to get water,
right.
or food, or
Yep.
run for their lives. Okay. And then there's others who the depression, the emptiness is so intense,
Mm.
Okay, let's not get to even them yet. There's many that are that it's the questions are starting to awaken, but um it's not clear what to do about it or where to go or if the answer it's even possible in this life. I mean, why would I, some person, be able to uncover the secrets of life? It seems like insane. So we cover them with something, like I saw somebody I know from childhood had posted something on Facebook over, I'm here, I'm in whatever city for the weekend and I'm stuck inside or whatever. Like, can someone give me, like, you know, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon shows, like, go. And people were listing them. And you can imagine someone could spend, all weekend binge watching or whatever shows. And
Yeah.
it's nice and it's entertaining and it gives you a relief. But to really spend time trying to actually figure out what's going on or to deal with those feelings of emptiness, it's kind of debilitating,
Hmm.
paralyzing. So most of us cover it with um,
Yeah,
things all
with
day long.
distractions, white noise.
Right,
I like
right,
to call
right.
it. Yeah, sure,
So we
sure.
through, and we're all like that because our the software that's running inside of us is, I need to receive pleasure. That's the only software that runs in every creature. Why does an ant move from here to here? Why does a
Mm,
fly go from there to there? Everyone is trying to fulfill itself. That's what is a butterfly, everything. So all creatures are running that. And so if I don't have any way of fulfilling myself through what we're talking about, so then I'm going to eat, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to drink, I'm going to watch something, I'm going to exercise,
mhm.
I'm going to do anything. So through all of that, there's a small amount of people who, even if they watch Netflix and even if they're smoking and even if they're whatever, they're also making some portion of their life, some portion of their time to figure out what's going on. That's
Yeah.
that's where we're going. Um,
Okay.
so that was my
Okay.
little commentary on your
Okay.
little
No,
on
that's
your opening there. So
I
here
like
we
that.
go. We're just like all of those other people, also trying to fill ourselves with pleasure all day long, but we got this itch that just won't quit. And somehow something appeared in front of our faces that, or under our noses, that made us think maybe there is an answer here. So let's look for it. So as usual, we're going to lay out some details of what's going on in the world, and then we're going to peel back the layers and get to that fruit inside and understand what is happening right before our eyes. What kind of unbelievable time are we living in right now? So another exciting week on Earth. There was a
Hello,
there,
Earthlings.
yeah,
There
there
has
was
been an
a
exciting week.
there was so there is a country called Myanmar.
I think
Myanmar
Myanmar is
used to
how
be called
I
Burma,
know
which
how to
was easier to
pronounce it. Yeah.
pronounce, but yeah. So it's right. It's bordering China. It's left of Vietnam, down from China, and right from India.
All right.
Okay, so it's over there. Um, and this country for a long time. So basically, I'll tell you just what happened this week. Okay, there we go. It is right in the middle, Myanmar, Burma, between India and, like, the Philippines. Okay, so
Okay.
right there in that whole China region. Uh, so this country was ruled by the military for 50 years or something like that. And then they had for whatever reason, I don't know why everybody wants to be democratic, but they had an election in a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago or something like that, a free election. I'm not sure after a military regime how you have a free election, but anyway, they had a free election, and a woman, Aung San Suu Kyi, something like that. She won the election and she became um, the leader there. So anyway, what happened? There was an election recently, I guess like a couple weeks ago or last week or something, and she won again. And then there was a military coup to. They said that it was an unfair election or something happened, and the military came in. They shut down the
the
internet.
the military shut down the internet.
well, I don't know who shut it down, but so she won the election.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
And then the military came in and said, no, that was not a fair election. We're taking over. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on the details. I'm just giving you, as you would say
Okay.
in broad strokes,
All
what
right.
happened. Okay. So, um, funny, Twitter. So most of the country gets their news from Twitter, Facebook. That's how the world gets their. So very interesting. Also, how did one college kid make some, you know, Facebook or something, and now that's responsible for how most countries are knowing what's
Yeah.
happening in
Big,
their
big.
country. But okay, so there was a cute quote here. Oh, I don't know where it is, but something came out from some statement from Twitter about how important it is to have both sides of the conversation, and not to block anyone's speech. I thought
Right.
that was after what we experienced in the United States. So there was an internet shutdown, and doctors refusing to work, civil servants refusing to work,
Hmm.
just a lot of unhappiness in the country, people upset. Okay, here we go. Twitter said the ban undermined the public conversation and the right of the people to make their voices heard. After Twitter, banned
Right.
people in the United States. Anyway, that's a
Yeah.
whole other story. So here's something that's
Right.
cute, a cute thing about this. Remember on Thursday's show, we talked about Navalny in Russia.
Yeah.
So here's like a,
The opposition leader
right.
in Russia. Yeah. The opposition to
Okay. So yeah,
Putin, basically. Yeah.
right. So you have Putin, who is, KGB. He's in power for 20 years, changed the law so he can be in power till 2036. And then you have this populist leader who rises, for the people. And he gets poisoned and he survives. And then he's arrested and people take to the street, right? But
Yeah.
then, if you look a little deeper, there's this video of him calling Muslims cockroaches and saying the way to deal with them is to shoot them, right? So it's like it's not like you have like a Mother Teresa or like some saint on one side and some devil on the other side. There's
Right.
always this kind of mix of things, right? Like during the Russian Revolution, for example, it was like, let's just kill all the ruling class, or the French Revolution, where just take them to the guillotine and just kill the other side. Now it's like not as clear as we're moving forward, like this right and left. It's like, okay, so
Hmm.
he's populist and he's for the people, but he says that these kind of people are cockroaches. So it's not like, you know, it's not like not like the angel and the devil on two sides. It's
Right.
not so clear. So anyway, interestingly, here there was a deadly crackdown on a certain group of Muslims in Myanmar a few years ago, and this Aung San Suu Kyi didn't condemn. It was like almost like they said it was like an ethnic cleansing of Muslims from the country. She didn't crack down on it or condemn it. So it's like there is no, Martin Luther King, or someone like that. It would seem like they were principled, or Mahatma Gandhi. You could say they were, almost like they had these principles. It seems now, maybe because of so much information, nothing is just one thing only. Everything is very much. It's not like she is this populist leader that's totally clean, and the military, this oppressive
Hmm.
military, is on the other side. Okay,
Well,
so I just
first
want
of all, you also have like, we really honestly don't know exactly what's going on. It's very complicated today to know what's going on. If you to compare, take the US, right? With everything that has happened in the last 4 years, but more specifically, let's say surrounding the last election. So,
yeah.
depending on who you ask, people from this side or people from that side, you're going to get a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
One side will tell you there was this guy who got elected and he is the most horrible person on earth, and he corrupted democracy and ruined the presidential legacy, and was a bad role model for our children even, and it was horrible, and somehow we managed to get rid of that. And another side will tell you there was a person who got elected, but he was going against the system and the institution and the establishment who is corrupted, and the mainstream media that's lying to us. And and luckily we got him for a few years. I don't know, whatever. I'm just giving you, like, you know what I mean, like just
Hmm.
classic kind of, but completely opposite narratives. And you can ask, and millions of people would support one side, and millions of people would support another side. So what is actually happening? What the media is saying, what the left is saying, what the right is saying, what these supporters are saying, what those supporters are saying, what is true? If you were from Myanmar, and you would, and you knew nothing about the US, and you try to learn what's happening, it really depends on who who you're talking to. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you can't, with the way that, how, like you mentioned, what social media can do today and what the mainstream media does today. We live in this, in this time where you really don't know what exactly is happening and how to interpret it as well. We do know this, however. We know that we've become so dependent on each other between countries and different parts of the world that you can definitely assume that if something big is happening in one country, say Russia, you just mentioned Russia, right? So
Hmm.
Navalny, the opposition, and what happened there, and he released that tape that allegedly shows that Putin has a palace that he bought and built with taxpayer money. And so, can you really be sure that if such a big thing is happening in a huge country like Russia, with all of the interests surrounding Russia, players, outside of that country, can you really think that there is no involvement, there is no connection,
Yeah, I
no
mean, the CIA could
interests?
have given him that video. Who knows?
For
So anyway,
instance, for
right?
CIA, the Mossad, who knows? I mean, again, it's not the point of speculating conspiracy theories right now. The point is that just like in the US, just like it's very, for instance, it's common knowledge today. I just want to make this point. It's common knowledge today, for instance, that here in my country, in Israel, we know that there are interests trying, that are more in favor or more against one leader staying in power
Mhm.
or another, and they're putting efforts and money and resources into swaying public opinion, even though it's not their country. So clearly, you have to be really, really naive to think that there are no interests between countries that are, from foreign interests, so to speak. But the point is, it's not because, I'm not even saying it's bad or we should fight them. I'm just saying it's the nature of our human development that we've become so interconnected, so intertwined, that clearly there are players playing all over the map,
Sure.
affecting
In the
things. Yeah.
past, Game of Thrones style, like I would send my daughter to go marry your son so that you wouldn't wage war against me. Right.
Right.
So that's been going on forever, but now it's on such a level with information and everything. So, okay. So we got Myanmar. Okay. Now let's
Okay.
move to India for a minute. India, one of the biggest countries in the world,
Mm.
billions of people in their population. There was a India to cross China's population. Okay, so a very big country. Okay, um, most people used to subsist. Uh, they used to subsist. That's how people lived. They would
Can we
gather
see
some
that? Can we
food.
see this visual again? What was that visual? It was so
I'm just talking
so
about the
fast.
population of India.
It was so fast. I just, okay. India to cross China's population by 2027. All
Soon.
right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
the United States has 350 million people approximately, and we have about 3% of this country is engaged in farming, producing food for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course, 100 years ago or more, it was 80% or 70%. Most people were subsistence kind of people. Then you have urbanization and all that kind of thing. So in India, you still have 100 million people farming. And not all of it is like here, it's mostly big agribusiness. Okay. In India, it's still a lot of smaller farmers. So we're not going to get into all the exact details of what exactly happened there, but suffice it to say that life is getting more and more difficult. And it's not the kind of world where in the past, like you lost your crop. Well, like imagine it's 300 years ago and your crop goes bad. You know, who you gonna
That's
email?
that's a serious problem.
Yeah.
300 years ago.
Which
Yeah.
government agency are you going to email to get some relief,
Yeah.
200 years ago or 300 years ago or 100 years ago or maybe 50 years ago, something started. But now,
Well, you can
the government,
literally conclude that praying is gonna be the most effective way, the most effective thing you can do in that situation.
yeah, so that's probably what it was. So what happened recently in India is that, which is obviously the center of the world when it came to spices, um, obviously the whole spice trade and everything. Um,
Mhm.
so there was some kind of I mean, could you imagine managing? I mean, you know what it's like to manage your three kids. Could you imagine managing like billions of people? So anyway, the government had some
Yeah.
kind of plan where the farmers were guaranteed some kind of minimum wage. They could sell whatever they grew and be guaranteed to at least be able to survive. But because of market forces and things like that, the government, if you have a small boat, if you move the steering wheel, the boat moves quickly. If you have a giant boat, you can spin that wheel. It takes a long
Right.
time for the
Yep.
ship to move. So, even if you have good intentions, even if the government has good intentions, when they try and steer the ship, and we have billions of people steering a ship like that, now we're talking about the earth. Even we can even zoom out to the kind of things we're talking about, which we're talking about the entire population of humanity. But let's talk about just what's going on in India for a minute before we zoom out and look at all the forces that are operating here. Um, they changed some rules, and the farmers would now be responsible for selling their own goods and wouldn't be guaranteed this kind of minimum income. And so there was the biggest strike, I think, ever on Earth. Now, I'm not sure who counted, but apparently there was over 100 million, maybe 200 million or more people around the country went on strike. Okay, that's the population of the United States is 350 million.
Right.
The estimate was 200. I don't know if we can believe these numbers, but over 200 million people
Wow.
in India striking.
Really?
Okay, that's a
200 million?
huge. It's almost the entire population of the
That's
United States. If you
aren't
take all the grandmas and all the babies, maybe, and have them stay home, and everyone else in the country is striking in America,
these are the
that's
reported numbers though? It sounds insane, man.
250 million. I think I said it was like BBC or something that said 250 million. So
That's
a
insane.
lot of people. Chris,
That
if you, I don't know if there's images of that or something. So on the what's that? Okay, India general strike. Is there a number in there? I can't see it well. Oh my 250 million people on Wikipedia. If we believe
wow.
Wikipedia, there you go. Okay, so
Wow.
I'm not sure which guy was out there counting. That is a lot of people. There's a lot of
Yes.
people. Okay,
That's an
um,
ocean of
with
people.
families
Yeah.
and yeah. Okay, so now on the other side, interesting. You also have people who are, for whatever reason, and are kind of against that farmer strike. Maybe they think, no, it's progress. We're moving forward. We can't subsidize all these farmers. There's market forces. If nobody wants to buy your ginger, so we're going to buy your ginger from over there, and you got to change with the times and whatever.
Okay.
So maybe more urban forces. Who knows? So you had some, as usual, celebrities in the United States who are, Greta Thunberg, the young climate
The
activist.
environmentalist. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and there was Rihanna, who's the singer. They were supporting the farmers in
Fighting
India,
the cause.
fighting
Yeah.
fighting the good fight. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was actually burning pictures of Rihanna and burning the people who were in the pro government crowd. Was India will not tolerate interference in international affairs. Okay.
So they were burning Rihanna's
Oh,
pictures
there you
is
go.
what you
Oh, this is
okay.
burning Greta's picture.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure why we want to burn Greta, but okay, and there's Rihanna burning pictures of Greta
Okay.
and Rihanna.
That okay.
Um,
I first of all, I don't want to I don't want to belittle whatever is, happening, but this is very anthropologically interesting. You know what I mean? Like
why is that?
because you have symbolism here that is playing such a big role. You know what I mean? So and you have a certain kind of convergence here, or of the East and the West, that you're seeing, that would not
I
have
would feel proud
happened
if they were burning
in
my picture over there.
what I'm trying to say is this. What would you say? What'd you say?
I said I'd almost feel proud because I'd be like, wow, a lot of
Yeah,
people
sure.
know about me.
Wow,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
It's
people
like,
know about me.
no, but here's the thing. What I'm trying to say is this. I'm sorry if I'm not clearly articulating myself, but the what you're seeing here is a very clear indication of how globally interdependent we've become, and that's because when people in the East are now integrating into their symbolism and ritualism, let's say, of course, it's a protest, right? But there's something symbolic and ritual about what do you do when you burn? What does that burning? It's like an effigy kind of thing that you burn.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? There's so it symbolizes, that we want to sort of it's like it's a certain kind of, we don't want the West to come in and influence what is happening here. And it's what's interesting is that it's images of celebrities almost. You know what I mean? It's not even like, is Rihanna is she a leader? You know what I'm saying? Is it's not there's something really really interesting here in how the spectacle that social media creates and integrates with influences from the West to the East, and vice versa, and the symbolism that people feel with regards to who they, what's against them and what's in favor of them. Anyway, it's an
A
interesting
lot there, and
interesting
even we could
situation.
say we could even say that politicians today, it's the same way. Like it's a figurehead. It's these celebrities. It's like a figurehead. It represents something behind it. But so here's the thing: a lot is
Yeah.
going on around the world. It's not such a big deal. Maybe that there's a protest here, a protest there, but to see that it's spreading like this, and to see also that it moves, to the east, like it, I won't be surprised if we end up doing a show about some kind of uprising in China. Now, how can it be with the world's largest standing army, like the most soldiers, and China can shut down that internet in a second, and there's no newspaper or any news outlet that's against the government. So how can it happen? Like, how in India, how do you tell 250 million people about
Mm-hmm.
this? So something will probably happen in China next as this kind of wave moves across the earth, and how it's going to happen also very, very interesting, because it's almost like a fever, like a virus that kind of passes through the air
Yeah.
to everybody. So we're going to see how these thoughts changing through, moving
Yes, we're
around the
we're
world.
we're gonna
So
see that we're in a web. I would say we're gonna see that this is in parallel to COVID, which is like a biological phenomenon that is spreading. You also have socio-cultural phenomenons that are spreading as well. And because in the 21st century we were such a globalized society, so globally interconnected, they're spreading from the east to the west and vice versa. And that's also what I wanted to say with regards to that symbolism before. There is some mutual sharing and transference, passage of values, memes, ideas, thoughts, that is moving between two sides of the world like never before. And that is something unprecedented. That is that.
so interesting.
Yeah.
um, in the United States, there's this thing called manifest destiny we learned about in school, um, where everyone moved west. The gold rush, and moved. They landed from Europe, they
Mm-hmm.
crossed the ocean, they landed on the East Coast, and then they made their way west. Everyone kind of even civilization, came out of Africa, went through Europe, then across
Mm-hmm.
to west, and now this kind of movement is like shifting back to the east, in a sense. It's interesting that movement now. So I talked to my dad. He's a really intelligent guy. He's like such a street smart guy, and I talk to him all the time, without using any kind of spiritual words, just to get his perspective on things and see how I can speak about things in a way that like a person with their feet on the ground can get it. And
Mm-hmm.
he's always, I'm like, Dad, you don't understand, Dad. Things are really changing. He's like, son, you don't understand. Things have always changed. No, no, Dad, but you don't understand. Now it's like this. And like all these businesses are shutting down. He's like, son, there'll be new businesses, and he's right on all of these things. So we can't say that this is the first time. I mean, there was slavery in this country 200 years ago.
Right.
There was these people versus those people, and they literally had a war over it. That was pretty noble cause, something noble to fight over.
Yeah.
Um, you may say that the Revolutionary War in America against England, you can say, well, maybe it wasn't so noble because the people that were here fighting against England actually were killing the Native Americans that were here. And so, that's a little more messy. But if someone was like taken from Africa and made a slave somewhere, this like pretty clear that's bad. We can kind of generally say that's not good. That was like a good fight. But in general, there's always been change. In this, we had here, at the in 19, early 1900s, there was a Great Depression. My grandpa used to say a bag of cherries used to cost whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, and then after the Great Depression, you had the automobile, you had Hollywood, you
Sure.
had the Roaring Twenties, all kind of innovation and all kind of new devices for the home and stuff. So what will inevitably happen after all of this kind of collapse is like a new rebirth. So here's my question, based on such a conversation that I would have with my dad then, you know, why is it different now besides the
Why
fact that we were
why
able to
do we
talk?
have a show called The Great Transition?
Yeah,
That
because
basically.
there's always change. People are always fighting against each other.
Right.
Is there
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
unique about what's happening now? Or could we have had our own radio show 100 years ago talking
Mm-hmm.
about the Great Depression and how things are going to change and how we need to adapt to a new world? And
Yeah.
we could have had this show in 1800. We
Mm-hmm.
could have had this show in during the, like, what happened right before the Renaissance? Was it the Black Plague, or there was some um oh
Yeah,
God, I
there
didn't
was
study history.
I,
There was
I
some
can't say
terrible,
exactly,
terrible.
but yeah. But
There was
we've
some
had pandemics before, that's for sure. Yeah,
before
and
the
much
Renaissance. It
worse,
wasn't.
much in terms of how deadly pandemics were. That this one is a breeze, if
It
that's
was
what you mean.
very, very hard times before the Renaissance, and then came the Renaissance, and there's art, and there's culture, and there's education, and the expansion of human possibility and what can become of my life. The Renaissance was a really big deal, and it
Yeah.
came after a really dark time. So maybe all that's happening now is the same thing. It's just the same cycle. So I'm asking you, Asaf, what is different in what's happening now than
Mm-hmm.
what has always happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say two things are unprecedentedly different. Um, One thing is that the world has never been as globally interconnected as it is today. That's a fact. It did not happen before. We never, ever were connected across the globe the way that we are connected today. That is a game changer. We grew in different places and spread to different places of the planet. Even if you think, go back 4,000 years ago to the cradle of human civilization, there somewhere there in ancient Babylon, somewhere there in ancient Mesopotamia, you've had like the center of human civilization, and then we scattered and started growing and developing and evolving human society in different parts of the world. And today we are connected across the globe in so many ties, in so many threads, that it is affecting each and every aspect of human life. And we haven't reached the completion of this process yet. So this is something completely unprecedented. That means that it changes the rules of the game. Nothing is similar to what it was before. We've had pandemics. Sure,
Hold
we've
on,
had pandemics.
it's not
They
clear
were
to me.
worse.
It's not clear to me.
Right.
It's not clear to me what you're saying. What the difference
Mm-hmm.
is?
The I'll clarify the difference in a second,
Okay.
but let's start from where your dad is absolutely right. You know, we've had pandemics before. We've had wars before. We've had, okay, so today you have a revolution or a protest in India, and a coup in Myanmar, and you know, in the past you've had bloody wars, and there was still opposition and other things and so on. Sure, sure. But today there is an influence from everything that's happening in some part of the world to every other place, to every other thing.
Mm.
That has never happened before. This means that while in the past you were able this war between one side against another side could continue, and each time, right, one side, you know, takes the lead, then the other side becomes the opposition, and then the other side wins, and then the other side wins, and that's how our politics looks like to this day, even, right, left and right, left and right, this whole kind of struggle and conflict between two forces. Each time one overpowers the other. Essentially, you can summarize all of human history in that. What I'm saying is, today we're becoming so interlocked in every aspect of human life that you can no longer have this dynamic where one side wins against the other. You're going to discover that each side depends on the other. That you can no longer have one side winning and the other losing, because immediately, if we're connected to each other, if we're dependent on each other, when I'm winning, when I'm winning, then it has to mean that you're winning as well. When I'm losing, then I'm creating the same kind of influence that will get back to me again. We're becoming
You know
connected in
who?
so many aspects: ecologically, economically, politically, culturally. The media plays a huge role here. Okay, before we go in there, the you were, sorry, you were
Do
going
you
to
know who
say
Tony
something.
Robbins is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so very kind of interesting, cool guy. A bunch of years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, um, I was going through a super, super hard time in my life, and I was having a hard time with my business and everything. And I started going to these seminars, which like help you, think right. And it's
Oh, you
basically
you
all
did?
psycho.
You went to a Tony Robbins thing?
Yeah, yeah. I did a bunch of his like weekend seminars and stuff.
Did you walk
I
on
walked on the coals. I
walked
walked
on
across the
coals?
hot
Yeah.
coals barefoot.
Okay.
Yep, I did it.
All right.
Very powerful. It's psychology. Very, very
Right.
powerful
Sure.
psychological techniques,
Yep.
and tools. Right.
Okay.
So I did this one. I don't remember what it was called. It helped me. I was very kind of depressed, and it like helped me a lot. Then they did another one he had another one about business, and I'm in there and I'm learning about business, and I realize as he's saying this, because I was I was in Kabbalah, but I wasn't like I wasn't didn't fully get what the whole every single person needs be to be okay.
Okay.
I noticed there that in order for me to be successful, like if I did all the things he was telling, that he was talking about, and I grew my business, that means I
Yeah.
would be destroying my competition, like putting other people out of work. Like
Yeah.
other people would have no money because I would be so successful that these other businesses would go out of business.
And,
And
and
at that point, it kind of clicked like, oh, this is like good for me, but this is not like a sustainable world model because,
and
whoever knows this,
the problem is built into the model itself. It's built into our
if I win,
systems.
you have to lose.
Yes, exactly. That's the current model and paradigm of human life on planet Earth. We are and this is gradually becoming outdated by the reality of interdependence. That's exactly what I was saying. Now, why is this never happened before? Because we were never so globally interconnected. Simple as that. Now, there's another aspect. The other aspect, which is again unprecedented, the other aspect, which is we're going to see more and more effects of, is our technological capacity, our technological capability. We've never had such a technological capability as we have today. Now, I'm not such it's not about being an avid fan of technology here. All I'm saying is that is a game changer in the sense that today we can potentially provide for all people the stuff that they need. If you go back to human history, again, wars are in many cases, probably the majority of wars in the past were about resources, were about I'm taking care of my people, so I need more land, and I need more water, and I need more whatever it is. So today we're in such a world where it's becoming ridiculous to fight over resources. The more ridiculous it becomes due to technological innovation and progress, the more the problem becomes clear that all we need to do is get along between ourselves. That's our problem. We don't have any other problem in this world. There's nothing missing. There's no shortage of anything. There's just people who need to figure out how to cope with each other, how to reconfigure their social formation in a way that they can rearrange how to relate to each other. I'll try to speak in simpler words. How to treat each other differently so they can rearrange industry and production to for the benefit of everyone, so they can fight less.
So the difference between what we're dealing with in simple language, we've always had problems, we've always had revolutions, we've always had wars, like going back thousands of years. So the specific
In a
thing
word, in a
in a
word,
word.
interdependence. What I have. Chris, can you pull up this part in Crossroads, in the documentary I did years ago, the where
Okay, I know
there's a
what you're
clip.
talking about.
You know what I'm talking about.
Like the world leaders.
There's a clip that we did there. Yeah, a friend of mine actually directed that scene, and we integrated it into the documentary. Anyway, there's a scene there somewhere in the 5 minute mark, Chris, about that shows exactly what I mean
So
by interdependence of the world. Remember what we spoke about a couple of minutes ago? Until Chris pulls it up, I'll say you mentioned Navalny, and the how the opposition in Russia we've talked about how it probably does have help from other foreign players, from players outside the country. This is a reality.
how else are you gonna take over Putin who's controlling the army and everything like?
So here's what's happening. We still, in our minds, in our eyes, in our current thinking, the public, most of the public today, thinks about the world as this spectacle where every country has its borders, has its leaders, has its own problems, its own sovereignty, its own issues, its own conflicts, and its own opposition and conflict between those who are in power and those who are opposing them. But that is not at all how the world works for a long time already. All of the stuff that you see in countries are this is just and how our politicians are describing that they are leading their country and they want to do this thing or that thing. The truth is that there's only a certain level of influence that they have authority over without the involvement of other interests and interdependencies in with other countries and other leaders. The reality is, behind the scenes, is that all those leaders are very much dependent on each other, connected to each other. There's a lot of interests always moving and shaking the system. There's economics is completely involved and intertwined with politics. Geopolitical interests are a lot of take a lot of weight in this picture. And what you have, rather than the spectacle of each country with its own leader and its own borders, what you really have behind the scenes is this giant mess of threads. We talked about the World Economic Forum in the last show or something. What they're right about, I agree with their analysis. They have, you can't, it's hard to argue with analysis that takes all that data and puts it into a structure. They show clearly how today societal risks, technological risks, political risks, economic risks, environmental risks, they're all connected. In simpler words, a hurricane in one place can destroy the economy in another place because the economies are interdependent, which influences how we use natural resources.
I saw Mancini wrote before that that his town is, the stores are shut down. If the stores are shut down in his little town in Quebec, the Chinese factory that produces the goods for that little town has no goods to produce and no goods to sell. So the whole thing is constant. You pull one lever here, it affects something all the way on the other side of the world.
And yet we are still in an old mindset. We're still thinking about countries and borders and leaders and so on, and and this one war in a war with the other one. Oh, Chris got it, I think.
Can we do it full screen?
Okay, if we have sound, let's just watch it. It's like a minute or something.
Yeah, it's great. Awesome.
But he's working on it. I forgot to say that it's not for the faint of heart.
Nobody wants to let go.
I'm sorry. With yeah. No, we should have given a.
Hold on, plug your movie just if anyone wants to see what movie.
This is a scene from Crossroads: Labor Pains of a New World View.
Say it slowly so everybody can go find it.
This is a scene you have just watched from the award-winning documentary. It is actually won a few awards. It's called Crossroads: Labor Pains of a New World View, and I see that Chris already put up a link in the chat. If you're interested, go ahead and give it a watch.
In short, anything that happens in one country is affecting the others, and where we are right now is we're in the squeeze because
we're in the squeeze.
We're in the squeeze.
Our well-being is increasingly dependent on the other's well-being, which is why you can no longer continue with the idea that one thing will replace another thing. This one will be in power, that one will be in power. Look, now here's the thing. I get, going back to your dad. This is a very rational thing to say. If you're looking at history backwards, it's very clear that you're not going to see a change to this dramatic that we're like the one we're talking about, a true change of paradigm, the great transition. You're not going to see it if you go back in history. That's true. That is correct, but it's specifically why it is so unprecedented. This is the situation. I think that okay, you want to go We don't have a lot of time. You want to go and take it another level? What do we want to do? You want to make it a little
I
trippier?
I still want to
Trippier? You want to?
understand. I want to open up here. What is so unique about what we are now the heroes of the movie. I mean, not you and me, meaning everyone here. We're in the movie. It's
Yes.
happening. There, in the past, there's the French Revolution. Okay, these ones, the minuses overthrow the pluses, and then the next generation, the pluses overthrow the minuses, and then the minuses overthrow the pluses, and this is how we went back and forth through the ages. Okay. So now, if the minuses are going to keep overthrowing the pluses and the pluses are going to throw over the minuses with all of this interconnection, it's just going to be such a squeeze. There's going to be no choice but to have like a full out nuclear war or something like that. Or
Hmm.
somehow it'll be really interesting to dive into the pluses and minuses inside of how that whole thing manifests, if this thing goes the wrong direction. But
Well, my I'll just say quickly that my hope and forecast is that it's not going to go in the hope. I really hope. I mean, and I think that it's not going in this direction because it's becoming clear to even leaders of today that it doesn't pay off to go to war so much anymore. It's becoming not such a relevant tool. Anyway,
So
yeah.
what is this great transition then? We've had the plus and minus wars forever. The plus and minus war developed Earth. The plus and minus war, developed every level of material reality. So
Right.
the atom is made of, the building blocks of are plus and minus. So what is this great transition? What, after all of Myanmar and India and the United States and Russia, and then we'll see China next. What is the shift? What is the outcome that's going to happen after this plus and minus love story, as Mechanical Elves just wrote?
Yeah, that
How can we
that's
have the correct connection between the plus? I mean, look, even here in the U.S., 50% of marriages end in divorce. And
mm,
then there's this whole, we're not even going to get into it now, but this whole kind of like, even you're gonna say to me why you say this, even the transgender thing, it's like, where is the plus and minus? This whole, you have a man and a woman come together and they keep breaking apart, and now we have this
mhm.
whole new thing of like, I'm not this, I'm
I,
not
I'm
that,
I'm
like this
seeing that
whole,
we're gradually pushing ourselves to having to do a show about that,
it's
but
very interesting because it's
it
like
is
there's no
interesting.
more plus and minus, like what, or
I
there is, or what's going on here.
I think it's a clear
But let's not go into that
expression.
too much, but I just wanted to bring,
No,
like,
without
it's
without
very
going too much, I'll just say it has a lot to do with our
unity.
let's just say quest for spirituality. But
So
let's
interesting,
just leave it at
so
that.
interesting.
Let's leave it at that. Okay. Where are we going? Plus and minus?
Just see this plus. I was just saying, even in the
Yeah. No.
families, the plus and
I
minus
mean,
can't.
look. You've just connected it to a bigger thought. This is why it's so hard for us to conceive of what is happening right now, because we are in the process of our own evolution. This is the unprecedented, fascinating, exciting, and yet so paradoxical situation that human beings are in right now during the 21st century. We are living out, playing out, and participating in our own evolutionary process. If you look at those this plus and minus throughout nature, then you're going to have to look in from a perspective of not just hundreds of years or thousands of years. You're going to have to look at millions of years of evolution, or even billions of years if you're going to, the development of the material universe and how things evolved until there was biological life on planet Earth, for instance. But wherever you go in this process, if you really want to look at it in a simple way, you constantly have these two opposite forces building and interacting and building a new kind of connection between them. And they multiply and they individuate, they become more diverse, they become more different, they become more in conflict, and yet they find more advanced ways to communicate, to cooperate, to collaborate, to complement each other, and then the next level of life emerges. If you think about how cells connected to multicellular organisms, if you think about simple organisms connecting to more, and if you go even back and just think about molecules and how they connected to new compounds and so on. So what is happening with us is, why will something else happen with humans? Why? What makes us so different? We're part of nature too. We're bound by its laws. We're put into an evolutionary process just like the rest of nature. And so it only makes sense that we will also be somehow going through the same process. And then if you look at it from this perspective, you go, okay, so we are becoming, on the one hand, very unstably, socially unstable. Look at what we've just been discussing the whole show. How the East is now, the Eastern societies are showing more instability, more social division, more political distrust, people versus governments, and so on, just as we see in the West. While there's a biological pandemic also spreading in addition to this social pandemic, so to speak, that is also tying us to each other. So we have a situation with two opposite forces. We can't. We're divided and we're in conflict and we can't get along, and we're becoming more different, more opposite to each other, and yet we're becoming more pressed and pushed because of this interdependence that is growing globally. And from these two opposite forces, something new needs to be born. And that new thing is going to be a new kind of human, a new kind of human mindset, a new kind of human perception, a new kind of human feeling, a new kind of human, and ultimately will translate to a new kind of human life on this planet. If we're in such a process, clearly it's not that trivial for us to see it, because we ourselves are changing. The only difference between us and the atoms or the molecules that connected into new things is that we're conscious in the process. We have to kind of conceiving of the process is also going through it. It's inseparable. It's part of the same. It's different aspects of the same thing. Anyway, I don't know if I made
You made a lot of
anything
sense.
clearer here. Yeah, but yeah.
It took billions of years for inanimate material to finally become vegetation.
Yes.
Super unique. We haven't found much else in the universe. It took even less time for vegetation to become animate, and then even less time for animate to become human.
Yes,
And
that's the exponential speed of how this evolution happens. With us, it happens the
so
fastest. Yeah.
it's in our hands, and it's very realistic that we will go through this transformation to our next level of our next, that is the great transition, that these plus and minuses every time organize in more and more complex ways. And it's usually, I mean, not usually, and it's always been through wars of forces that formed the earth, wars of forces that formed vegetation and animate and to human. And now we can take control of that and manage those plus and minuses and move ourselves through this great transition into a next degree. In the same way, somehow a couple 100 million people in India knew to protest, there is a force, just like today is going to be the Super Bowl, this big football game. Um, there is an energy like Christmas Day or whatever it is. There's energy in the air on days like this where things permeate people. And
Hmm.
when we're going to get to this point where this unity, this connection, this understanding is going to permeate through the air, and we're going to all kind of start to understand. We're going to wake up. People are going to, we're going to start hearing about it in the news. We're going to start hearing about it from celebrities. We're going to start hearing about it on the street. All of a sudden, people are going to start to understand that there's something new being born, and
Yes.
we'll
And
move.
and
Like,
you've also nailed a very important point, which is with that kind of a review of how changes happened in evolution throughout history. Changes are going to happen from now on, from 2020, let's say, from this especially in this COVID era. Changes will happen so fast, so fast that and it's a function, it's a derivative of how interconnected a system we have become. So we're going to see everything's going just to go into this very quick vortex where a lot of changes are just going to happen so fast. I think some people are already feeling it, but just
yeah, don't worry,
no.
Kevin James. It won't take billions of years. We will probably see it happen in our life, at least the beginning of it. It is awesome. Again, we have the greatest friends here in this. This is like such a unique chat on the internet. So friendly and caring. Thank you to Mary and Patricia and Slightly Slanted and Rachel, Arena and Mancini, of course, and Spencer and who else? Mechanical Elves and Steve and Kevin and Timothy and everybody else. Thank you so much for being here.
We got a
Big
little bit
hug,
of
Julie,
we got a list
Lucinda. Oh, hey,
here
Lucinda.
of we got a list of different places here
It's
from
okay.
Chris.
Okay.
We had friends here connected, at least from Brazil, Netherlands, Toronto, North Carolina, Minnesota, Norway, Ohio, Turkey, Virginia, Florida, Wales, Miami, and Colorado. At least there's sorry for
What's
those
up,
that we may have
Tony?
missed. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony here. Isoke, of course, from Cobb U. Yetzi. Yes, Yetzi. Hey, man. Okay, everybody. Big hug.
Wait, song. Give us a
Mary
song,
Spees.
bro.
Yes, yes, of course, of course, of course. We'll
All
see you
right.
Thursday, 2 p.m. Lots of love. Great to see us off. Thanks, Chris.
Thursday, 2
Till
p.m. We will be here. Thank you, everybody.
To take our first breath, to take our first action, to be alive on what is left, to float above the light on just to ask, to be in love with you and watch it from the outside. I wanna do what you do, just to run in a field that is blessed, and to come home with you and rest, just to hunt in a field that is blessed, and to come home with you and rest.
Masked up, gotta block the call. Masking up my heart from egoistic thoughts. Learning all the lessons that this pressure gave us. Wanna save myself, I gotta save my neighbors. Slowly recognizing egoistic nature. Showing us connection is the only savior. We gon' come together, plow these fields of hatred. All is one with sowing seeds of love relations.
You shatter these walls, unsettle this heart from the chains of time. Then we soar through oceans in the sky, oh, through your cold. To be in love with you, watch you with a bird's eye. See the world is filled with you. Just to run in a field that is blessed, and to come home with you and rest, just to hunt in a field that is blessed, and to come home with you and rest.
Only love can save us. Viruses, the hatred, unity gon' vaccinate us. True immunity from all the things that separate us. Everything is only for the good, it's all to change us. Yeah, so with tears and we reaping joy. Ego is the evil seeking to destroy. Education covering the hate with love. revelation, blessings raining from above.
Just to